The first photograph arrived at 4:12 on a Thursday afternoon. No envelope, no stamp, no note. It was simply lying on Nora Bell's kitchen table when she came home from work. She noticed it before she noticed anything else. Glossy photograph, face down, centered perfectly between the salt shaker and a bowl of oranges. Nora stopped in the doorway. She lived alone. The apartment door had been locked. The windows were closed. Nothing else looked disturbed. She set her bag down slowly, then turned the photograph over. It showed the front page of a newspaper. The ASHBURY record. Friday, October 18th. Nora frowned. Today was Thursday, October 17th. Tomorrow's date. She almost laughed. Some kind of promotional stunt. Maybe an advertisement. Then she read the headline. Local pharmacy destroyed in early morning fire. Beneath it was a photograph of Keller's Pharmacy on West Avenue, flames pouring through the roof. Firefighters in the street. Nora knew the place. She passed it every morning on her way to work. She looked closer. At the bottom of the photograph, part of another headline was visible. Only 3 words. One still missing? Nora turned the photograph over. Blank. No handwriting? No logo? Nothing. She checked her apartment. Bedroom, bathroom, closets, balcony. No one? She checked the lock. No damage. Then she called the newspaper. The receptionist answered on the 3rd ring. Ashbury record. Nora looked again at the photograph. Hi. This might sound strange, but are you running a story tomorrow about Keller's Pharmacy? Silence? Then, about what? A fire. The receptionist laughed politely. I hope not. Nora didn't. She hung up. At 6:38 the next morning, she woke to sirens. Nora ran to the window. Smoke rose beyond the buildings. West Avenue, she grabbed her phone. Local news was already reporting it. Keller's Pharmacy had caught fire at 5:51 a.m. The photograph slipped from Nora's hand. She stared at the headline again. Same building. Same flames? Same angle. Then she noticed something she hadn't before. In the newspaper image, behind the firefighters, stood a woman in a dark coat, watching the fire. Nora zoomed in with her phone camera. The woman's face was grainy, but the coat was familiar. Nora looked toward the chair beside her bed. Her dark coat hung over the back. She hadn't gone anywhere near the pharmacy. The second photograph arrived that afternoon, 4:12 p.m. Exactly. This time it was inside her refrigerator. Nora opened the door for milk and found it leaning against the carton. She dropped the handle. The photograph showed another front page, Saturday, October 19th. Tomorrow, the headline read, Commuter train evacuated after unexplained stop. The image showed passengers standing beside the tracks, the train motionless behind them. Nora scanned the photograph. There, near the back. The same woman, dark coat, facing away from the camera. Nora. She checked the smaller headlines. One caught her attention. A. SHBURY fire investigation continues. Another, missing man's car found empty. Nora froze. Missing man. She looked back at yesterday's photograph. The partial headline. One still missing. She placed both photographs side by side. Different days. Different events. But the same woman appeared in both. Her. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Nora did something she normally never did. She stayed home. The commuter train in the photograph was the 8:16 northbound. Her train. She called in sick, closed the curtains, turned off her phone. At 8:43, nothing had happened. Nora almost felt ridiculous. Then her landline rang. She stared at it. Nobody used that number? She answered. Hello? Static. Then a man's voice. You weren't on the train. Nora gripped the receiver. Who is this? The line went dead. She turned on the television. Breaking news. The 8:16 northbound train had stopped between Ashbury and Bell County. No mechanical failure. No obstruction. The driver had simply brought the train to a halt, then disappeared from the cab. Passengers had been evacuated. Nora grabbed the photograph. Same train. Same location. Same crowd. But something had changed. The woman in the dark coat was gone. Nora stared. She knew she had seen herself there. She was certain. Now, only empty space remained. Then she noticed someone else. A man standing where she had been. Tall, gray jacket, face turned toward the camera. Nora didn't recognize him, but he was holding something. A photograph. At 4:12 that afternoon, Nora sat at the kitchen table waiting. Nothing happened. 4:13. 4:14. She exhaled. Then someone knocked on the apartment door. 3 soft knocks. Nora didn't move. Another 3. She looked through the peephole. Empty hallway. She opened the door. No one. On the floor, a photograph. Sunday, October 20th. The headline was larger this time. Woman found dead in apartment. Police seek information. Nora stopped breathing. The photograph beneath the headline showed her building. Police cars outside. Yellow tape across the entrance. She read the article. The text was too blurred, except for one line. The victim has not yet been identified. Nora stepped backward into the apartment. Her hands shook. She looked at the newspaper date. Tomorrow. Then at the photograph of the building. 3rd floor. One window illuminated. Her window. Nora called the police. She told them someone had entered her apartment. Left photographs. Threatened her. She didn't mention tomorrow's newspapers. Not at first. 2 officers arrived. They checked every room. No forced entry. No hidden cameras. No fingerprints on the photographs except Nora's. One officer studied the image of the building. Where did you get this? I told you. No? I mean the photo itself. Nora shook her head. The officer pointed toward the street in the image. A police cruiser sat outside. Vehicle number 214. The officer looked through Nora's rear window. His cruiser was parked below. Vehicle 214. Nora felt cold. The officer lowered the photograph. We should get you somewhere else tonight. At 9:30 p.m., Nora checked into a hotel across town. Different name. Cash payment. Room 608. She told no one where she was going. The officers had offered protection. She refused. If the photograph showed her apartment, she wanted to be anywhere else. At 11:47 p.m., Nora sat awake on the hotel bed. Television muted, curtains closed, the 3 photographs spread in front of her. Pharmacy, train, apartment. She began examining them again, not the headlines, the backgrounds, and then she saw it. The man in the gray jacket. He was at the pharmacy fire, far behind the firefighters. She hadn't noticed him before. He was also at the train, holding the photograph, and in the apartment image, he stood across the street, looking up at Nora's window. Same man. 3 different days. Nora took pictures of each photograph with her phone. Zoomed in. Compared them. Gray jacket. Dark hair. Same posture. Then she noticed something worse. In the first image, he looked young. Maybe 30? In the second, older? 40. In the third, at least 60. Nora stared. The events were 1 day apart. The man was aging decades between photographs. The hotel room phone rang. Nora screamed, then answered. No static this time. The man's voice was clear. You keep changing them. Nora said nothing. The photographs? Who are you? A pause? Then, I don't know anymore. Nora stood slowly. What do you want? I want you to stop preventing what you see. Her eyes moved to the train photograph. You knew I stayed home. Yes. Are you sending these? Another pause. No. Then who is? The man began to laugh. Not because anything was funny. Because he sounded exhausted. Nora. Her grip tightened. How do you know my name? You asked me that the first time too. The line went dead. At 4:12 the next morning, Nora woke suddenly. The hotel room was dark. Something slid beneath the door. Photograph. She waited. No footsteps. No shadow in the hall. She picked it up. Monday, October 21st. The headline, A.S.H.B.O.R.Y. Record closes after 112 years. The photograph showed the newspaper office. Windows dark. Employees carrying boxes outside. Nora almost laughed from relief. No fire. No death. No disappearance. Then she looked at the bottom corner. A smaller article, you identified woman found in hotel room. Room number. Nora dropped the photograph. She ran. No coat. No luggage. She took the stairs. 6 floors. Lobby? Street. She kept moving until the hotel disappeared behind her. At 5:03 a.m., police entered room 608 after a noise complaint. The room was empty. No body, No sign of violence. But the bed was wet, not with blood. Rainwater, and on the pillow lay a newspaper dated Monday, October 21st. Tomorrow, Nora went to the Ashbury Record office. The building opened at 6. She arrived at 5:41. One light was already on. Inside, printing presses rumbled. Nora pounded on the glass. A man appeared. Gray jacket, dark hair, about 50 years old. The man from the photographs, he saw Nora and closed his eyes, as if he had been hoping she wouldn't come. Nora pushed through the unlocked door. "You!" The man stepped backward. "You came earlier this time." Nora stopped. This time, the presses continued behind him. Thousands of newspapers moving through the machines. He looked toward them. "You need to leave. Are you sending the photographs?" "No." "Then explain them?" "I can't. You said I keep changing them." The man looked older than he had seconds ago. Nora blinked. For one impossible moment, his hair seemed grayer. He walked toward the press room. Nora followed. Stacks of tomorrow's newspaper filled the floor. Monday, October 21st. She grabbed one. The front page was blank. No headlines. No photographs. Only the date. Nora whispered, "What is this?" The man said, "Wait." The printing press slammed once. Ink spread across the first page in Nora's hands. Letters appeared. Local woman enters a SHBURY record at 5:41 a.m. Nora dropped it. Another line printed beneath. CHA is currently standing beside press 2O. Nora looked up. A metal sign above her. Press 2. She stepped away. The newspaper changed. As she steps away, Nora threw it onto the floor. Every blank newspaper in the room began printing at once. Thousands of pages. Thousands of identical headlines. Nora Bell has arrived. The man grabbed her arm. "Now do you understand?" "No." "Neither did I." The presses stopped. Silence. The man released her, then pointed toward a wall. Old front pages. Framed. Decades of Ashbury history. Nora moved closer. Factory closure. Election scandal. Highway 9 bridge collapse. Nora froze. The photograph showed a line of vehicles on an old highway. People standing near mile 87. At the edge of the image, a man in a gray jacket. Young. Maybe 25. The man beside Nora whispered, "That was the first time I saw myself." Nora turned. "You were there?" "No." He looked at the photograph. "Not yet." The lights flickered. When they returned red, the man looked 70. Nora backed away. He smiled sadly. "I think the newspaper is trying to finish something." "What?" "I don't know." "Why me?" The man looked toward the presses. "Because I'm almost out of time." Then every machine activated. One page printed. Only one. It slid onto the floor between them. Nora picked it up. Tuesday, October 22nd. The front page showed a photograph of the Ashbury Record press room. Nora stood alone. The man was gone. The headline read, "New archivist appointed after unexplained disappearance." Nora looked up. The gray-jacketed man was still there. "For now," he whispered. "Don't change this one." Then the lights went out. 1 second, maybe 2. When they returned, he was gone. His gray jacket lay on the floor. Nora ran outside. The street was empty. She called police. No record of the man. No employee matched his description. No one at the Ashbury Record remembered hiring him. But in the archive room, Nora found photographs. Hundreds. Tomorrow's fires. Tomorrow's accidents. Tomorrow's missing people. Some had been prevented. Some had happened exactly as shown. And in nearly every photograph, the gray-jacketed man appeared somewhere in the background, growing older. Until the final photograph, Nora found it inside a box marked "Not Yet Printed." It showed a highway. Mile 87. Hundreds of abandoned cars. Open doors. No drivers. A woman stood alone in the road, Rachel Bennett. And beside the mile marker stood Nora Bell, wearing a gray jacket, holding a photograph. The picture had no date. Nora never returned home. 3 weeks later, the Ashbury Record hired a new archivist. At least, that is what the employment records claimed. Her name was Nora Bell. Every afternoon at exactly 4:12, she entered the archive room alone. And sometimes, People across Ashbury found photographs in locked apartments. Inside refrigerators, under hotel doors, pictures of tomorrow's newspaper. Most people ignored them. Some tried to change what they saw, and every now and then, someone noticed the woman in the background. Gray jacket, watching, getting older. If you enjoy mysteries where every answer creates a worse question, subscribe to 10-Minute Mysteries. And if mile 87 sounded familiar, watch the previous story. The entire highway stopped at the same mile marker, because Nora found a photograph of Rachel Bennett before she ever reached that road, which means the newspaper may not have been predicting what happened on Highway 9. It may have been waiting for it.